This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Into it, Thursday edition of Money Moves live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM channel 158. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. We're in downtown Las Vegas, home of the world's largest sports book at Circa Resort and Casino. Lots to get to over the course of the next 2 hours. So let's jump right in with what's on deck. Time for the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the rundown.
All right, lots of great stuff we're going to dive into today, including the NBA. In addition to breaking down a short 3-game slate, JVT, have a little early NBA awards check-in. I know you've got thoughts on MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, we had an MVP-type performance last night from Nikola Jokic, who is now the favorite to win NBA MVP. And in another awards market for Coach of the Year, I would contest that the top 3 should actually be behind the next 3 on the odds board. So we'll talk about that. And I think there is a brilliant coaching job being done. You can still get the guy at about 10-1. So I think that's definitely worth looking at.
Love that. Also, real quickly on last night, how about them Hornets, baby?
Yes, got to win. Big win over the shorthanded Milwaukee Bucks. Hey, we'll take them as we get them.
No Giannis, no problem for Charlotte. Let's go.
We'll take it. Take any win you can get. I think the Hornets are actually the silver lining with the way the season has gone for the Charlotte Hornets is that young guys are actually playing extremely well. And when and if they're finally healthy, they're going to be a team capable of going over that win total.
We also got an Eric Collins hum-diddly-dee, by the way, which is always very exciting out there for those of you that watch any Hornets broadcast. Going to get into lots of NFL today as well, hitting our contest corner for Circa Million this week. We started off the quarter well, 4-1 start, see if we can carry it over. But even if you're not in any of these ATS contests, we're going to break down as many games as we can. So hopefully help out with your card on sides that you might be looking at for week 11.
Yep, we got off to a good start for the quarter on the show. So hopefully we can maintain that. So this will be a very important week as we cannot squander what was a 4-1 week for our contest card last weekend.
Can't do it. We'll also hit the marquee college football games of the week, have best bets at the end of the program, but we're going to kick things off with Week 11 getting kicked off tonight. Thursday Night Football, Patriots, Jets. Are the Pats poised for prime time? Laying the big number tonight. New England bet up from 10.5 at open to as high as 13 in the market, JVT. This is their largest favorites roll since 2021.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I was surprised you wanted to get straight to the rundown, which means we have to get straight to this game, which means we have to spend more time on the 13-point favorite here today. Look, I will be very curious to see if the Patriots can cover this sort of a number. Obviously, their power rating has been rising as they continue to dispatch some of these opponents. And after an extremely impressive win last weekend against Tampa Bay, where after an opening drive touchdown, really just stifle the Tampa Bay Bucs throughout that entire game on the road. Now bouncing back short week against a, we'll call it a feisty divisional opponent. Hey, they got a win last week.
Huh. Sure. Yes, that's back-to-back weeks, actually.
That's right, yeah.
So with the bye week to complete the sandwich in the middle there.
Can't sleep on them.
Can't sleep on him. At least Mike Vrabel isn't. So if we want to hear from the head coach of the New England Patriots, he had this to say on what he thinks of tonight's opponent.
I see a young, excited team that basically said, hey, this is what we're going to do for our future, and we're not going to complain about it. We're not going to mope about it. We're going to play hard. We're going to use our speed. We're going to use Brees. We're going to use our return units that are sensational. We're going to play tough defense, and give them credit. A lot of teams, people could have been complaining and, hey, we got rid of one of the best defensive linemen in the league and a corner and everything else, and that didn't show up at all. And I saw an energy, I saw excitement that was that jumped off the screen. So this will be a challenge. I know they'll be ready to go on the road, and we'll have to continue to prepare and then ultimately play well.
You know what I'm sure else jumped off the screen? Special teams and their inability to throw a forward pass are a couple things I think would also probably stand out.
Yes, you're referring to, of course, the, what was it, a punt return touchdown and a kickoff return for a touchdown?
Yes, one for the kickoff return touchdown, by the way, a 99-yard
Very good.
Back.
I am interested in this too because for the Patriots, so they're 12.5-point favorites here at home. If you're using that 1.5, where we're talking about an 11-point difference on a neutral. Our market power ratings exercise last week, that's exactly what the difference was between these two teams just last week. So it's not like we've seen some massive adjustment on where the Patriots were a week ago or slip of the Jets down. And I think it makes a lot of sense. The Jets looking, I guess, slightly more competent, if you will, in their 2 victories. And the Jets, for all of the struggles and issues and only 2 wins, as you see there, it's not like they've been a pure fade machine. They have at least somewhat surpassed some market expectations. So this is going to be a pretty interesting game because obviously a short week, anything can happen. We have seen these dogs put up some pretty good performances on short weeks. And this is a big number in a divisional game for New England.
And we will hit you with some of the injuries just to be aware of in this one with the Jets, in addition to the pieces that they traded off last week. One of their top offensive weapons, Garrett Wilson, out for at least the next couple of weeks. We will see the debut of Adonai Mitchell, though, who came over in that Sauce Gardner trade. Depth running back Khalil Herbert, questionable on defense. Starting corner Azareye'h Thomas is out. Defensive ends Will McDonald and Braden McGregor, both questionable, but the expectation is that they would play as is starting defensive tackle Harrison Phillips. For New England, Keyshawn Boutte and Ramondre Stevenson out again. Boutte missing his 2nd straight week with a hammy. Stevenson held out a 3rd straight with a toe injury. Kyle Williams and rookie running back Travion Henderson stepped up in their absences at Tampa Bay. Tight end Austin Hooper also out. Starting inside linebacker Christian Ellis out. And backup defensive end, Joshua Farmer, questionable as well. Want to thank Spot Odds for that injury update from professional sports bettors like Billy Walters to world-class bookmakers like the ones right here at Circa where we're broadcasting from. Everyone who bets big or books big uses Spot Odds. Use the same tool the pros use at spotodds.com and code VSIN for a special discount. But for me, with the only real weapon that the Jets have on offense being Breece Hall, as Vrabel said in that soundbite there, and the Patriots' run defense being the best in the NFL, what do we do here in terms of, like, I know you said this team has been plucky and they've been fighting as an underdog. How do they get points offensively in this game?
I mean, that's key word is offensively because we've seen the ridiculous touchdowns from them. No, I would tend to agree. I mean, to put some more depth to what you're talking about being the best run defense in the NFL, you're talking about adjusted line yards allowed per carry via FTN. They're 4th best in the NFL, 3.8. The only issue they really have, if you look at their statistical profile, oddly enough, power success rates, so their short yardage situations are actually 31st in the NFL. So in those, key downs with 2 or fewer yards left to go, you're probably going to get that against New England. But outside of that, they've been very good. Don't give up explosive runs. And so if you're going to be able to do that, are you going to be able to trust that this is going to be something from a vertical passing attack? I mean, hell, even a horizontal passing attack. Like, can you get something going here if you're this team? And maybe there is. Maybe New England's defense on the back end is poor enough. Because, look, despite the fact that they're one of the best rush defenses in the National Football League, if you look at it by total expected points added, they're still pretty average, around 13th in the NFL. And success rate, they're floating around 18th. So you can move the ball on New England. I guess the question just becomes, is this offense for New York so bad in terms of their passing game that they're going to be able to do absolutely nothing here against this defense?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
It is interesting, and we're going to get into a lot deeper angles from a prop perspective, the top of the 2nd hour today. But Justin Fields' passing yards today set at 132.5. He's thrown for fewer than 60 in 4 games this year, including 3 of the last 4, by the way. 3 of 11 for 27 yards before getting the concussion and yanked against Buffalo. 9 of 17 for 45 against Denver. 6 of 12 for 46 before he got pulled against the Panthers. And then 6 of 11 for 54 pass yards against Cleveland, 42 of which came on a Breece Hall screen pass that he took for a touchdown.
I mean, and I guess we shouldn't, I feel like, look, this defense is much worse, and maybe it just speaks to how bad it is. We did see Fields throw for 244 yards in the 39-38 win over the Bengals. He can do it. The question is just,
where do the Bengals rank defensively?
Well, that's a very good
just
point.
Curious.
One of the worst, if not the worst, depending on what metric you're using. So, but he has it in him. And oddly enough, as we're kind of hemming and hawing like what you're supposed to do here, honestly, what are you supposed to do with a team that has won a game where their quarterback has put up 54 passing yards? What are you supposed to do with a team that covered a game across the pond when your quarterback had 45 passing yards? They've had 3 starts in which their quarterbacks have thrown for under 100 yards. They covered 2 of them. They won 1 of them. It's a weird team that has gotten a lot of things to happen for them on defense and specifically on special teams. I don't think you can just project that.
No, that's fair. What's also been different and unique is the New England Patriots season based on what we've seen from them the last couple years. Their win last week over the Bucs and the Bills' upset loss shifted a lot of betting markets. Drake May is the favorite now for MVP. The Patriots passed the Bills as the AFC East favorites, are minus 260 odds-on favorites there. Vrabel bumped to the top of the odds board for Coach of the Year. Here is Mike Vrabel on keeping the team focused despite all of that early success.
There's times where I want to, pull the head coaching card out and, stray away and kind of, run around here slamming everything, yelling, and really haven't had to, where you try to make up, fabricate some conflict. We never want to, take the cheese and get into all that. And certainly there's a human element to it, but, when things are going good, you have to be able to prepare for things when they're not. And I think that we try to do that. We try to stay focused so that we're not in any sort of like panic mode.
I do kind of think this is an interesting test on a short week to see how you handle success.
As you said, there is a human element to it where you're probably looking at your opponent to an extent and going like, all right, here's like we'll just take care of the Jets and then we'll move on. Probably looking ahead to a nice 10 days off, or at least between games, you get these 10 days. So I think that this is, and again, we'll just reiterate. I mean, go through what the year has been on these Thursday night games. We have seen this 1,000 times over. We saw the Miami Dolphins push the Buffalo Bills. We saw what the Raiders did or failed to do, I guess, last week. We can go down the list, and I'm sure they've talked about that. You just got to stay focused here, but it's hard to do it, especially when you're such a big favorite.
Yeah, no question about it. Again, 12.5, 13 the spread, depending on where you look. Total 43.5. We're going to take our first time out of the day, but when we come back, speaking of new MVP favorites, we've got a new one in the NBA after Nikola Jokic's historic 55-point night against the Clippers. Sorry, JVT. A few other awards worth discussing, as well as the 3-game slate as we shift gears to the association coming up on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Coming off a fun night in the NBA. Pistons won their 8th straight, and we saw some of the leagues.
You gonna say it?
No.
Okay. I don't think we can.
No, I don't think I can. I have a reputation to uphold here.
It's pretty good, though.
It is pretty. I wish I could tell you what we're talking about. You can't do that.
Just take Pistons is the title, right? So you just take out the S.
Make it 2 words.
Make it 2 words, and then you get blank. There you go.
And JVT's favorite phrase. We did have a couple of big performances from a couple of big stars last night as well. Steph dropped a 40-burger with 46 in the Warriors' 125-120 win over San Antonio. Snapped what was a 6-game road skid. And then as we talked about last segment, Nikola Jokic, man, playing on another level yesterday with 55 points and a beatdown of the Clippers. Nuggets win 130-116. Denver improves to 9-2. He had 25 in the first quarter last night.
Yeah, and, my initial thought yesterday, we didn't get to it. It was a big card, but I was like, situationally, maybe this is a good spot for L.A. Catching the Nuggets on the second leg of a back-to-back. They had played in Sacramento the night before. Ultimately couldn't get there with the number, especially without without Kawhi out there. And, of course, the recent loss of Bradley Beal. And sure enough, no. It didn't matter. Similar to what we've talked about with these good teams where it seems like they just enter these third quarters and they're just like, hey, guys, let's go win and beat these guys because they're not that good. And everybody's like, cool, let's go get this done. And then they just go and sprint off with the victory. He's been incredible. Interestingly enough, did you just say this?
No, I didn't, but it's a fantastic stat, and I'm excited for you to say it.
So both of these, we've thrown a couple of these in here. I threw a couple of these in here for you. That's the first time the Nuggets have won when Jokic has scored 50 or more points.
Insane.
They were 0-4 in the previous 4 50-point performances from Jokic. Now, that goes back to the low-hanging fruit analysis, which is cut everybody off and just let Jokic score. And that was kind of the thought process for a really long time. Granted, I mean, it looked like it had worked for a while, but that was the first time they had won one of those games. And he is the first player in NBA history to average a 35-point triple-double while shooting 60% or better across a 6-game stretch.
Crazy. And speaking of that stretch, so Jake Coyne put this out. Jake Coyne of Stats Perform. In NBA history, only one player ever has done each of these things in the same season. A 50-plus point game, a 30, 15, and 15 game, a 25-plus point game without a single free throw. Jokic did all of those in the last 8 days.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. And now, by the way, he is now your favorite to win league MVP. Leaps over Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the market. 2-1 is that price right now. SGA plus 225, Luka Doncic plus 450, and Wemby at 6-1. We talked about this as well. Right after Giannis Antetokounmpo at 8-1, those odds fall off a cliff.
They do, and rightfully so. I mean, outside of potentially Cade Cunningham, who's got a giant load on his shoulders, this is something that is probably shaping up to be about an 8-horse race or so. I don't like that smirk. I know what I did there. Either way, though, I think that Jokic is deserving of this at this point right now. He's been incredible. And I said this today because I was on Harvard Handicappers. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. I'll be on every Thursday, it sounds like. But we were talking about
this. So is that how we're doing that now? Sorry to cut you off. Retain your thought. But is it Pod to the Futures and Harvard Handicappers wherever you get your podcast?
I was thinking
so are those the you have to have the different levels for the ones you're doing?
I'm also just excited because it's back and it was my first time back on it. So that was the excitement that bled through there. I have lost my train of thought, but I will get back to it once I remember it.
Pick it back up. I said how crazy it was for the last 6 days for Jokic. Or where we sit on the odds board, Cade Cunningham. Triggering anything in your brain? 35-1.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
So we were talking about this on Harvard Handicappers today. Get it wherever you get your pods. I said this to you yesterday. I think the Thunder are going to probably push for like 70-ish wins.
Okay.
And I think they're going to need almost every single one of them because Jokic and this Nuggets team are so good. Like they're right behind the Oklahoma City Thunder right now. I think they're 8-2 or 9-2, somewhere in that range.
9-2.
Yeah, like Jokic is playing at this level. He is on the way to potentially winning MVP. The good thing for him, because one of the issues was, hey, longevity down the stretch of some of these seasons. We've seen that the Nuggets have kind of given him some days off or whatever it is. But now they have Jonas Valanciunas to spell some of those minutes, so he's not having to play as much at center because they actually have a legitimate backup center. He could have a really strong year. That's coming off of a year in which he didn't win MVP, and yet it was a career year for him.
Okay.
By the way, shout out to Kelly Bidlin, who I think added Jokic just yesterday before this game at 5-1.
Oh, yeah,
to win
good
MVP.
On you.
Yeah.
Plus 550 is the price for the Nuggets to win it all this year. OKC, as you mentioned, though, still your favorite at plus 210. You made a great sell for the way you view the Coach of the Year market right now. What can you talk us through from that standpoint?
Okay, so Coach of the Year is a pretty fascinating market, and we do this in the NFL all the time where it's kind of like, all right, are we going to look at like pure coaching jobs? Or are we going to just say, hey, head coach of the team with like the most wins and or that meets or exceeds expectations the most is probably going to be the guy that wins it. In the NBA, I think there's some legitimately great coaching jobs going on right now, like just X's and O's, getting your teams to perform. Might not be at the same level in terms of total wins, but this is great when you look at the jobs that these guys have done. So let's throw up these three dudes. Eric Spoelstra, JJ Redick, and Thiago Splitter. Spoelstra, it's been brilliant. The Miami Heat are 7-5. They're 6th in the East. They're 11th in offense. They have the 8th best defense in the NBA. Those numbers, by the way, are how many points they give up per 100 possessions in non-garbage time. So for Spoelstra, if we focus on him for just a moment, he's 9-1 to win this award. He went out in the offseason. We've talked about this. We talked about Ja Morant. Brought in a guy who runs a different sort of offense. I showed you the clip on the Amazon broadcast. It has led them to be the fastest paced team, one of the best offensive teams in the NBA, and they're not even fully healthy. Bam Adebayo has been missing time. We haven't even seen Tyler Hero yet on the floor. It's incredible the job they've been able to do, and they actually might be a top 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. And how about this? Triple check this for me. I believe Eric Spoelstra has never won Coach of the Year, despite his illustrious career as a head coach. So you can find him at 9-1. You look at guys like JJ Redick, who you see there at 12-1. Just having this team be extremely competitive. The fact that LeBron has missed time, Luka has missed time, and they are there. And then this last one, I think, is one of the more interesting ones. Thiago Splitter. If the Trailblazers finish, Stormy, if they finish even in the play-in, fringes of the play-in, after what happened with Chauncey Billups, and having to deal with this situation that the Blazers find themselves in, which, by the way, they're playing very well. They're 6-5, way ahead of schedule. Does Thiago Splitter not get a ton of credit as an interim head coach for what this Trailblazers team had to deal with Billups' ouster and now the pieces they had to pick up and still not even missing a beat?
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. I did fact check you on Eric Spoelstra. You are correct.
Right.
He's never won NBA Coach of the Year. He has won the NBA CA Coach of the Year that's voted on by the coaches. But that's all. This all despite him being on the NBA's 15 greatest coaches list that was put together however long ago. So that's amazing. And bodes well for my Miami to make the playoffs.
I think you're in pretty good shape. Like, again, we're not calling it now, but their offense has been really impressive. And again, their best offensive engine, Tyler Hero, hasn't seen the floor yet. Do
you want to hit one more awards market or touch on the games tonight? Where do you want to go for the last few minutes
We can do both real quick. I mean, so Utah Jazz are taking on the Atlanta Hawks. I have to go back and find this in the Hardwood Handicappers group chat. In like August, I was going through schedules and I texted Kelly and Zach, hey, circle November 13th. It's going to be a good spot for the Jazz. Hawks are on the second leg of a back-to-back, playing their third game in 4 nights on a West Coast road trip. And this is the day. The day has finally arrived.
We're here.
Yep. And so we're going to do it. Jazz today on the money line. We'll talk a little bit more about all the bets we have. But the reason why we should bring this up is the rookie of the year has kind of developed into a spot where, we're getting some favorites. This rookie class has looked absolutely tremendous. But one of the guys near the top of the board before the season started, Ace Bailey, got off to a really slow start. His first 7 games of the season was averaging just 4 points per game, 2.6 rebounds, shooting 30% from the floor and 14% or 15% from three-point range. But very quietly, Ace Bailey over his last 4 games, averaging 12 points per game, 5 rebounds, shooting 47% from the floor, 40% from 3, and he's coming off of a game in which he scored 20 points, had 4 rebounds, and went 7 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 8 from three-point range. He's finally really starting to look pretty comfortable, and now in a pretty good spot. He's down to 100-1. I added him at 9-1 before the season started, and I told Zach today, I think I'm going to have to put a little bit more at 100-1 because we are still so early into this season, and if what we've seen these last few games is legit, dude, he's going to thrust himself right back into contention for this award.
That's interesting because obviously this is somebody that you liked from the onset and were willing to buy in on them at that price point. So why not get more bang for your buck and just see if you can get there?
Yeah, be stubborn.
If there's anyone who excels at that, it's 100%.
The turnaround has been great. And he's a big-bodied kid. He's got an NBA game to him. They're playing relatively well. He should have the workload, and I trust him here today. We can get to some more of the details of the Hawks because there's some good numbers there. But overall, is a very good spot for Utah tonight.
Cooper Flag, your favorite for Rookie of the Year, -130. VJ Edgecombe, +280. Con Knipple at +350 before we get to the double digits. And
Charlotte
by the
Hornets.
way, Charlotte Hornets. Yeah. By the way, yesterday we did an exercise with the Opta AI player projection tool up at vsin.com, and the props were 2-1 yesterday, going for it. And if you want to check them out, Opta AI, the trusted data source behind elite soccer analytics in the UK, they're transitioning, giving us some data for the NBA and the NFL this season, compares their prop projections directly to the lines available at DraftKings to help you find value. You need a VSiN Pro subscription to get unlimited access to all of it. vsin.com/subscribe is how you can come join us. When we come back, we're going to break down some of the marquee games in college football. The Georgia Bulldogs are 51-2 their last 53 home games, 6-0 ATS against top 10 teams at home the last 5 years. But JVT thinks they're on upset watch. We'll tell you why coming up.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back here on Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Coming up this weekend in college football, we've got 4 ranked on ranked games, a couple of which we haven't given a lot of attention to this week. So let's dive right in. One game I'm particularly whoa there, Turbo, excited to get your thoughts on because I think we're a little on the opposite sides of the spectrum with this one. Number 10 ranked Texas at number 5 Georgia. The Bulldogs 6.5-point favorites, some 6s out there. I do see 5.5, by the way. This total also up from 47.5 to 49. Longhorns' first ever trip to Athens, where the Bulldogs are 51-2 their last 53 home games, like I said before the break, and 6-0 0 against the spread at home versus top 10 opponents the last 5 years. This is a playoff eliminator game for Texas, coming off their second bye week of the season, facing a Georgia team that's kind of surging right now. How do you see it?
You know who else is surging? Arch Manning.
Whoa there.
My man is playing some pretty good football. Let's look at, you know what, I'm not going to whittle it down to just 2 games. We'll go for his last 4 contests here that we will include for Arch Manning. Over his last 4 games, 149 dropbacks, 972 yards, 7 touchdowns to 1 interception, 1 turnover-worthy play on those 149 dropbacks, 7.3 yards per attempt. My man's been playing extremely well. You want to go to the last 2 weeks where he has thrown for nearly 700 yards and 9 yards per attempt, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think Arch is kind of starting to maybe find his groove here a little bit as a quarterback in college. And that's been kind of masked. I mean, even going into that game last week against Vanderbilt, that was finally, it felt, at least to me, the first time we had really started to, hey, like Texas is kind of getting some national, it's kind of back in the picture. Here we go. Can you get a big win? And sure enough, they do. I think Arch is playing really well, and I kind of want to buy into this. And here's the other part that I think would worry you if you're Georgia. Where would you guess the Bulldogs rank in opponent expected points added per pass in the country?
I would think pretty decent, but based on where you're going with this, not well. So I'm
100.
guessing I was going to say after 60.
Yeah, so
100.
Quarter of the game on paper, they're floating around 100th in that regard. They don't give up a ton of explosives, but on non-explosives, expected points added per play, they're pretty low down there, floating around like the 25th percentile in the country. They're tied for 70th, more like you're talking about, against the pass in terms of success rate. If I'm right in that Arch Manning is maybe taking some steps forward as a signal caller in college, I think he can get his team to stay inside of this number and potentially pull off the upset here.
What do you think about Texas's defense? Because we know they are outstanding against the run, but in general, we were hyping up this defense a lot the first 6 weeks of the season, and then we see them giving up 38 and 31 points in back-to-back weeks, and now you're about to take on a Georgia team that, as I mentioned, surging, playing really, really well, especially efficiency on offense. Like, where do you view Texas's defense in all this?
I mean, I think if we're buying into, or if I'm using the fact that, hey, some of the pass metrics for Georgia don't really look too great, we do have to mention that Texas is kind of in that realm, but they're not as bad. Like, if you look at their defensive metrics in the terms of expected points added, success rate, things like that, they're floating around the mid-50s so far this year. They're pretty stout against the run, but you can go after this defense, if you will, through the air. So that's going to be, I think, one of the interesting things to watch. I don't think Georgia is going to be able to come in here and run the ball against them, or at least very well. And that's kind of where Georgia struggled a bit. They've been a little helter-skelter, 42nd in the country in expected points added per rush. So I think this comes down to, these 2 quarterbacks and how you're going to generate some explosives if you can, and how do you operate as a unit against 2 teams, your opponent, that is pretty middling in their weakness you would consider defensively is through the air.
They are coming off a game where they ran wild on the ground, though, against Mississippi State.
Yeah,
just
for sure.
Worth noting.
To your point, I think I'm probably undervaluing Georgia, considering I was sitting on the number with Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And guess what? They got smoked.
Yeah, they got smoked. And they ran a season-high 303 last week. Nate Frazier had a breakout game. They were averaging 15 a clip against Mississippi State. So they are capable, obviously, in that area. But that's going to be, I think, a fun head-to-head with Texas's run defense and Georgia on the ground to see what they can do there. I'm just not sure I'm convinced. Like, I haven't seen Texas put together a full 60-minute performance, I don't think, all season. Even the game against Oklahoma in the Red River game where everybody was freaking out about how they were very slow starting in that game, and it took a while to finally turn it on in the second half the way that they did. I am impressed with the way that Texas has tweaked their offensive line the last couple weeks, and it seems like that's probably also been a help for Arch in the way he stepped up in his game. I couldn't get there. I think Georgia, I didn't bet Georgia -6.5, but that is certainly the way that I lean in this spot. On the road this season, Texas has 2 losses and 2 overtime wins going into one of the hardest places to play in all of college football. I think it might be just a little bit too much for them. Let's go to another game, though, that I think is interesting. Speaking of the aforementioned Sooners, number 11 ranked in the country, taking on Alabama, the number 4 ranked team in the country. The Tide opened 7, down to as low as 5.5, mostly 6s, though. Total 45.5, 46. Alabama probably looking for a little bit of revenge for how the game went a season ago. And the Tide have played so well at Bryant-Denny Stadium this season. Passing offense has been great with Ty Simpson. Oklahoma, though, an elite in certain areas. Defense, number 3 in the country in sacks, number 1 in the SEC in yards per attempt allowed. But, and this is something we've talked about here on the show, Oklahoma's offense has not looked the same since the John Mateer injury.
Yeah, I mean, I think this offense is pretty poor, right? Especially when you stack them up with some of their contemporaries in the SEC. I mean, across the board for some of the advanced metrics, the highest you're going to find this Oklahoma offense is floating around 73rd, and that's their rushing attack on the ground. And I think a lot of that is the ability of Mateer to make some of these plays happen with his legs. But it's not a unit that I think you're going to very much trust. It's going to be, hey, can your defense stifle Alabama and this offense, which has been very good, especially through the air? 4th best passing offense in the country if you look at it by EPA standards. I just kind of trust, this is very simple, simplistic analysis. I trust Alabama much more than I do Oklahoma. And here's the thing. Alabama defensively, still 25th against the pass. You look at some of the success rate, and especially on 3rd and 4th down. Yeah, they're not the best, but they're still pretty strong, especially on early downs. They're 25th best in the country. So they're not like coming in here with a defense that you can really move the ball on. They've actually been well above average in a lot of different categories. And I would assume that any defense that faces Oklahoma, their floor is raised considering the way Oklahoma plays offensively. They're not a good offensive team. Underneath a key number of 6, I understand this run that Alabama has been on considering the opponents, but it is tempting to turn away Alabama laying under a touchdown against this Oklahoma team at home.
Mateer through the air, just 3 total touchdowns in 4 games since coming back, had 11 the first 4 games of the season. I just don't know if they can score enough points, to your point, to keep up with them.
Do we worry, much like last week, it was a tough sandwich spot for Georgia, do we worry that Alabama's looking ahead to Eastern Illinois University next week? Or whoever the hell they're playing.
Something tells me probably no.
Powerhouse on the horizon.
How about Virginia at Duke? Unranked home favorite versus ranked opponent here. The Cavs, number 19 in the country, taking some money, by the way, in a bounce back spot. They fell 16-9 at home to Wake Forest. This spread has come down from Duke -6.5 to -4 JVT, which I think does, based on this number, lead you to believe that they think Chandler Morris is going to be back to play after getting knocked out with the concussion last week. The freshman backup, Daniel Kalen, was not good. Blue Devils, despite being 5-4 this season, ladies and gentlemen at home, just lost to UConn, 4-1 in the ACC, in the thick of it for a spot in that ACC title game.
Yeah, I am. Look, this is a sexy game, man. This is good. Yeah, this is huge. And like you mentioned, and this is the reason why I wanted to bring it up, to see if we had any update on the quarterback spot for Virginia. And like you said, it sounds positive. So, look, Virginia's offense has been very good. They can't really throw the ball particularly well, but they can run the hell out of it. You look at a lot of different intricacies with their offense and the way they've been able to handle things. Very good at generating some rush explosives on the ground. So you're going to be on the lookout for that against a Duke defense. It's played the run pretty well. It's their passing defense. It's 120 ranked in the country. So that's going to be the big one, is can you actually throw the ball through the air? And on the flip side, all of this to say, if it's going to hold up weather-wise, and I think it is, this seems like a shootout. Yeah. Duke's offense should be able to move the ball. Top 50 rushing offense, top 10 passing offense. I know that Virginia has been pretty solid statistically against the pass, but still, we're floating around mid-30s. How is this not a shootout?
Yeah. This is a Duke defense we just saw give up 35-plus back-to-back games, including to UConn. And I know the UConn quarterback, Vignano, is probably the best quarterback you've never heard of, but that should not be happening, right? And so I am in complete agreement with you. It feels like we're going to get a high-scoring affair in that one, as
playoff eliminator.
ACC championship eliminator, which Virginia, too. I mentioned Duke's record, but Virginia also... The NC State game from earlier on in the season doesn't count as an ACC loss because they booked it out of what are you going to do? I also noticed you put in North Carolina at Wake here. You back in your Tar Heels again this week?
No, actually.
And they are your Tar Heels.
They
officially
are. By the way, I mean, we've kind of had a good read on this last week when we talked about, it's a big number against Stanford. No, I was actually going to bring up, do we play this under? Total's 39.5. Wake defensively has been good. I think we've nailed it with a thought that Chapel Bill has gotten this team to improve defensively. This looks like it's going to be a pretty ugly game. Under 39.5. Tempting to take 6 as well in a game with a total under 40.
Okay. We got to step aside here, but remember, ladies and gentlemen, the official horse racing partner of VSiN, First Bet, is built for bettors who demand more. First Bet isn't just about placing a bet. It's about helping bettors of all levels with proprietary AI handicapping tools to give you data-driven insights to make smarter bets. The in-app tools give you win, place, or show probabilities on each runner so you can quickly identify good value plays and improve that ROI. Use the promo code VSiN250 in the First Bet app or at firstbet.com to get a limited time $250 bonus.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Lots of injuries and news to get to in the National Football League as we get set for Week 11. We do kick things off tonight with the Patriots and Jets. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we will deep dive into the prop market. Also, Jeff Erickson of RotoWire is going to stop by an hour or two to give us some of his prop angles on the night game, as well as looking into the weekend. And we've got a lot of injury report news coming down. Yesterday, I know there was a little bit of a scare in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson not ultimately practicing. According to head coach John Harbaugh, it was a little bit of knee soreness. He was expected to be back at practice and is. We've seen a little bit of video coming out where he's jogging around, throwing a couple passes, look pretty comfortable. So that's got to make you feel a little bit better with your future.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Just to let you know what I'm distracted by, the NFL has sent out a memo in terms of sports betting, so I'm just getting my eyes on it. So that is why I'm distracted. But yes, he did move around. Looked like he's the fact that they said yesterday he should be back tomorrow, and then he's back today. That's a very good thing. So, Ravens all of a sudden now become viable because it looks like he's going to be out there and available. So to what extent, I think one of the better ways, as we've talked about a lot here, teaser is a good option for you, getting them down through a key number. If you're shopping somewhere with a price on those teasers that is still palatable to you, I think that's going to be an option, probably a pretty popular leg.
Oh, it is.
Probably a Ravens-Broncos teaser for a one Stormy Buonantony.
You say that like you think you know me so well, and you do, because it's in the account.
I texted you this morning. I was like, I feel like I was just looking at the board, and I was just kind of thinking, I was like, man, like Broncos are probably like teaser territory for Stormy.
Get up to double digits?
Yeah. Right.
Beautiful. What are you going to do? What did you see on this memo, though? Because you have piqued my curiosity.
I got to read it. So essentially, the NFL sent a memo to team officials today saying that in light of recent gambling scandals, this is from Tom Pelissero, in other sports, the league has worked with lawmakers, regulators, and sports betting partners in recent weeks to limit and, where possible, prohibit prop bets in the NFL. The reason why I was rolling my eyes is, again, I just got my eyes on this thing. In the memo, they have prohibited wager categories. One of them is inherently objectionable, which are markets or bets that are inherently or designed to be derogatory or inflammatory or otherwise based on subject matter against public policy, ergo player injuries, fan safety, misconduct. Like, that's not offered. So I don't know what that is. You're not betting on player injuries.
Weird.
Unless I'm misreading that. Let's see. Officiating.
In fact, when I bet unders, I get mad at people getting refunded for said injuries.
Right.
So,
and like, this is why I'm kind of rolling my eyes, because a lot of this does seem like, this doesn't happen, or at least in the regulated books. For example, so there's 4 prohibited wager categories for the NFL: officiating related, right? The officiating assignments, penalties, replays, let's see, determinable by one person in one play based on outcomes 100%, determinable by one person in one play, kicker to miss field goal attempt, first pass to be incomplete. Those are offered. And then predetermined outcomes directly related to on-field competition. Will quarterbacks start this week? Will teams' first play from scrimmage be run or pass? So, again, I have to read this whole thing to see exactly what they're saying, if they're asking for these things to get taken down. But the NFL stepped in, and that's obviously the big news there.
Well, I guess the last one that you said, like, will the first play from scrimmage be a run or pass? I think that's kind of a direct correlation from what we've seen in Major League Baseball with everything that's come out with Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz with the specific pitches for certain innings. So I think that makes sense, at least argument-wise, from what we've seen in Major League Baseball. And I think because sports betting has been in the public eye the way it has so much over the last couple weeks in a negative way, we're seeing a lot of these players get asked questions about it, including Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who had this to say.
The betting stuff, how much has the NBA and MLB stuff been present in your mind, and do you feel like the safeguards are all in place well in the NFL?
I mean, they let us know. I mean, the NFL and the NFLPA kind of tell us all the different rules that you can and can't do. I just stay away from it, just because I don't want to put myself in that position. I mean, that's something that your life's so great. Why mess with it, And so it does get. I think more than anything, to me, it gets weird sometimes when you have fans talking about it, just because you're just trying to go out there and live your life and play the game. And sometimes they get really attached to them even more than like the regular fan because they have money on the line. And so for me to them, I would just say don't do anything that you can't recuperate or live without. And so it's a crazy world we live in these days, seeing all this stuff happen. But I think you just focus on the football and focus on the sport that you love, and while you're here, then you don't have to worry about all that other stuff.
Very even-keeled answer.
Yeah. It's like he understands how it works from both sides of things, right? Because from a professional athlete standpoint, you should know and are made aware by the league frequently and with like signage up in your locker rooms on what you should and what you should not do. And then from the bettor's perspective, I totally agree with that too. Like, manage your bankroll. Only bet what you feel comfortable being able to lose when all is said and done. And I think that's just good betucation that we try to express here on the network as much as possible.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like that. The I stay away from it. Like, yeah, you're an adult and you make decisions. And Patrick Mahomes has decided, and he has told us, I think he can report, that he doesn't want to fix outcomes. And like that's a very good thing that is on his shoulders as an adult.
No matter what people like to say about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes, correct. Well, those are the refs, remember.
Oh, yeah, that's not him. That's just the officials.
This coming down a minute ago, since we're on the topic of the NFL, I don't think that this is a shock, but C.J. Stroud officially ruled out.
Okay. Obviously dealing with the concussion from this past weekend, as is Jackson Dart. So we'll be getting the Jameis Winston experience coming up this weekend. Another quick injury update from practice. Brock Purdy has been back out there this week. Do you think that we could be nearing a return? Like that's
I acquiesce to you on this.
It's
49ers
the
nonsense.
weekly, every freaking day thing. Oh, we could be getting closer. We're in a better position. We might have him out there soon, possibly. It's what are we doing?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to lean on you for this sort of stuff because I've kind of stopped following this whole Brock Purdy nonsense because I have no idea what's going on. And every single week, it seems like, are they just going to say every week, hey, he might be available until they get eliminated or miss the playoffs? Like, I don't know what the truth really is. He's throwing the ball here as we're showing. I guess, is he really driving off the foot? Is he really working it? I mean, are we watching him more athletically? Can he get out of the pocket? Whatever it is. So I have no idea. They seem to be very oddly handling this in a very odd fashion, considering.
I will point out, at least, considering how many people have made a similar argument to what you have said, like, is there really that big of a difference between Mac Jones and Brock Purdy? That Kyle Shanahan has been asked repeatedly on the podium about if there is any sort of quarterback controversy and will there be hard decisions to be made when Brock Purdy gets healthy again. And he has really put the kibosh on that, saying, no, this is all based on Brock's health. He is our guy.
No, and so to be clear, when I ask that question, I do think Brock Purdy is the better quarterback when he's healthy. I guess the way I should phrase that is, do we even know if Purdy's healthy and when he eventually comes back? Is he like 100% and will he be an upgrade over Mac Jones? That's always the way I've thought about it when I phrase that question to you because he's clearly dealing with something. It's clearly a long time coming in terms of this recovery. If they ever finally bring him back, will we trust that he is healed to the point where he will be that upgrade over Mac Jones? That's really been the way that I've tried to phrase that question. But no, like in a vacuum, they're both 100% healthy. Who's better, Brock Purdy or Mac Jones? I would say yes. I don't think there's a question that Brock Purdy is an upgrade.
I'm sure, like we've gotten the last few weeks, we'll have an official answer on Friday.
Sure.
For whether or not it's going to be Mac Jones again. But I think that is the expectation. The 49ers 3-point road favorites against the Arizona Cardinals, who are just as banged up as they are, if it seems like, on a backup quarterback themselves. No Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. No Zay Jones for the rest of the year. The defense is having a lot of issues. So total 48.5 in that one. Also sticking in the NFC West, Rams head coach Sean McVay said yesterday he expects Devontae Adams to play this week. He was dealing with that oblique injury this past weekend. When asked if he expected him to go, said, I do. Yeah, that's what he tells me. He's feeling good and I trust the man. He'll be ready. And boy, has he been awesome, specifically as a red zone threat for Matthew Stafford this year.
Where do you think this closes? There's a couple of threes shaded.
I was going to say, where are we at right now?
There's 3 across the board with some. It's like minus 110 pretty much everywhere.
I feel like 3 is the right number.
Couple of 3.5s, but shaded to the dog side at minus 120. It's probably just sitting on 3.
Yeah, I think 3 is the right number.
I'm just kind of holding out. I want to play Seattle, but I want to see if maybe I can get a 3.5.
Why do you lean that direction?
I like the Seattle team, man. I think they're good. And I think the Rams, congratulations. They have been playing very well and think dropping 30 points with what's the word I'm looking
Regularity?
for? Yeah, there you go. Regularity. Appreciate it. But I do think Seattle is a little bit of a different test here. And I think they're going to be able to push them. And one of the times, the few times we have seen the Rams somewhat struggle, I would say, it's been against some passing offenses, some well-schemed offenses that can take advantage of that secondary and those linebackers that have been a little shaky at times. And we saw your team do it in that Thursday night. But, Jags, Saints, beat up 49ers team, dropping 34 or more points in all three of them. This will be a little bit different.
Yeah, this defense, to your point, I don't think that Matthew Stafford's going to have another 4+ passing touchdown game against what Seattle's been able to do defensively, even though they are at home. And hey, right now, as we talk about pro football spreads and all that, did you know you can get -105 on all pro football spreads every regular season game over at Boomer Sportsbook? They're bringing you all the action with football, hockey, hoops, and more. And when you use our code here, VSIN, VSIN 250, VSIN 250 when you sign up at Boomer Sports for the mobile account, they'll match your first deposit up to $250 in bonus bets. Learn more at betwithboomer.com. Must be 21 or older. Terms and conditions do apply. Please bet responsibly. When we come back, sticking with the NFL, we got a big one in Thursday night football coming up between the Patriots and Jets. Big one, maybe better words. We'll be right back.